We're going to revisit our three dog friends here as we take a look at what our dogs' mouths can indicate about their body language. Again, we see a few distinctive differences. The dog on the far left has a softly open mouth, and her tongue is laying gently over her teeth. When we have no tension, again, we're more likely to see indications of relaxation. The dog in the center has a tightly closed mouth, which in most cases is going to be either a sign of focus, arousal, or in some cases, discomfort. Although in this situation, context tells us the dog is simply focused on a tennis ball. The dog on the far right also has an open mouth, but we see that he has a lot of tension in his face. His commissures, or the corners of his mouth, are pulled back, and he has what we would refer to as a spatulated tongue. This means that the muscles of the tongue are engaged and the edges are flared out. These are signs that this dog is feeling very anxious or nervous. When dogs are afraid, we start to see different body systems come online in order to help them handle the physiological effects of that fear. For example, many dogs, when they are afraid, will pant heavily in order to cool themselves down. Because their body is moving into more of a state of readiness, they're going to be burning oxygen faster. We can look at a couple of the differences between these two dogs to help us identify a relaxed dog with a softly open mouth and a scared dog with a tensely open mouth. You can see that our white dog on the left has no lines of tension in her face. Her face is very soft. Her lips are hanging loosely over her teeth, and her tongue is just resting gently in her mouth. By comparison, our Rottweiler on the right has some pretty severe lines of tension. You can see that, again, at those corners of his mouth, we have heavy lines, and you can actually see the muscles in his cheeks pulling back. His tongue is also very tense, and you can see how his lips are raised slightly upward rather than hanging loosely down. Another behavior you might see in a dog who is anxious or afraid is lip licking or tongue flicking. The dog will extend their tongue out over their nose to either gather information about the environment or to communicate that they're feeling uncomfortable and that they would like space. Here we see a dog with a hard closed mouth. This actually indicates that their fear has escalated slightly from the point at which their mouth might be open and they're panting. A dog who has a hard closed mouth is communicating, again, that they would like space, that they want whoever they're interacting with to move back. In other scenarios, we might see a softly closed mouth, where we don't have those same lines of tension in the face, and we look at other body language to tell us that the dog is comfortable. When we have relaxed ears, soft eyes, loose bodies, with a closed mouth, this is an indication that that dog is completely fine. They're simply relaxed in a familiar environment. Our dogs can make all kinds of goofy faces in play, and here we see a couple more examples of a closed mouth versus an open mouth. Our white dog, who's playing with another dog and understands that this is a social partner, has a loosely open mouth. Our dog on the left, chasing the tennis ball, which of course it doesn't view as a social partner, has a tightly closed mouth, and we get that focus again. This is one way that dogs can communicate to a social partner that they are just playing, that this is all in fun, and that they have no serious intent to hurt the dog that they're playing with. Sometimes we can see some really dramatic play faces, like these ones, where we have dogs with open, gaping mouths that may look intimidating if we don't know what to look for. But what we can see here is that they're intentionally inhibiting. Their lips are pulled down over their teeth rather than having a full-on tooth display, and the way that they're moving is really inefficient. Neither of them is likely to be able to make a whole lot of contact with the other with those mouths. This is another way that our dogs are showing that it's all in good fun, they're just playing. When we are seeing a true threat display, there are a couple of key differences. In this case, you can see that we do have a full-on tooth display, that the lips are pulled back away from the front teeth, and the commissures, or the corners of the mouth, are pushed forward. The tongue is pulled back into the mouth so that this dog doesn't inadvertently bite off its own tongue when it's trying to bite somebody else. And we can see that all of that intention is clear, that the dog is aiming very pointedly at whatever the trigger is in this case. As you're looking at body language and putting all of these pieces together, remember that context is always very important. We might have a closed mouth in the context of intent concentration. We might have an open mouth that's soft, loose, and relaxed. Or we might see either of these things in a context where our dogs are uncomfortable and tense. We really have to look at that bigger picture and the context of what's going on to help us understand exactly how to read our dogs' mouths in each moment.